Hello everyone and welcome to Buster Crimes. I'm Hannah.
I'm Stuart.
And together we put the lady in shady and the bras behind bars. Now, don't panic everyone. Emily is alive and well. As we all know, she has actually managed to get herself pregnant. And it's been a bit tricky for the pair of us to find the time to meet up and record. She's pretty much ready to pop, guys. So instead, we do actually have a guest star stand-in.
Our star was better.
Okay, we have a guest star. And if you will, we'll welcome Stuart to the podcast.
Ooh, Stuart.
Now, he is a loyal listener and fan. And he has sat heroically through a lot of true crime documentaries with me over the years. So thank you so much for joining us, Stuart.
Hey, you're very welcome. I'd like to say at this stage what a fantastic privilege it is to be part of this up-and-coming fantastic new podcast of yours. Thank you for inviting me. We'll see if I have any valuable contributions at all.
We'll see if he pays any attention to my story or if he just lords off on his own mind during half of it, which tends to happen. So now I think, it's quite fitting because Stuart is pretty Welsh. When did you move to Wales? What kind of age was that?
Technically my parents moved to Wales when I was a baby.
Right, so he has grown up in Wales, hasn't he?
Yes,
Although
he has.
He defends himself as a loyal Dutchman. Anyway, so
No, I just am Dutch.
So he is Dutch, but he's grown up in Wales. So actually, I think it's quite fitting that he's here for this case. So, Stuart, this case really does have it all.
Well, I gathered that I feel very privileged to be asked to do this particular episode, seeing as it has it all.
Yeah, well, exactly. This is the case that really does have it all.
Yeah, and I would like to acknowledge that once again. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Marvellous. So a community and police force are baffled as they uncover a murder mystery straight out of a Harlan Coben drama.
Can I just say something at this juncture? You did allude to it just now. I have watched many a documentary with you. Right. The police are always clueless.
I think in particular this one is quite clueless.
Yeah, but they're always halfway through the documentary and then it's and then police got a tip-off from a member of the public. So they haven't done anything, have they? They literally, in a lot of cases, you've got to admit that the police managed to achieve very little. Now, I'm not saying that's put down to porpoising of their talent or whatever, but it does seem like they have no power to do anything.
I think Stuart is expecting police to kind of not go around the houses and find out the local gossip and the drama and all the rest of it that might have contributed to some kind of murder, killing, crime, which is the main point of policing. Detecting.
Is that what I just said?
No, you badmouthed them because apparently...
I'm not badmouthing them. It just seems like most of the cases is that actually what leads to it being resolved is some sort of tip-off or some sort of idiocy on behalf of the perpetrator. But rarely through cunning detective work.
And again, Stuart has said that he has watched multiple documentaries with me, and that is the glean that he's managed to get from those. So thank you, Stuart. I will carry on with my introduction.
Please do.
A community and police force are baffled as they uncover a murder mystery straight out of a Harlan Coben drama. An eccentric older lady becomes the main suspect. But how has she died before her victim has? Yes, you have something to say?
I don't know who Harlan Cobra is.
No, I knew you wouldn't. It's Coben.
Coben.
He's first of all an author who's written some fantastic books that are full of twists and turns and etc. But Netflix have basically bought him, and he's now writing the most horrendous dramas for Netflix. You can't even imagine. So he must have been given a huge amount of money to kind of put his name and probably guest write these dramas. He doesn't care. He's getting money. But blimey, they are awful. One of them's really good. I think it's called The Stranger. But I have seen all of them. One of them had Michelle Keegan in. That was terrible. But we digress. So we're about to dive headfirst into the biggest bonkers pool of lies that have weirdly been wrapped up in 41 layers of plastic. To quote the documentary, The Body Next Door, which is available on Sky Documentaries and Now, which I highly recommend you go and watch if you do enjoy our current episode. Just because someone comes across as eccentric, it doesn't mean that they are instantly a murderer. Thank you, Sky Docs.
It doesn't?
It doesn't, apparently.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Stuart, this week, we find ourselves back in the UK and in the beautiful country of Wales. Now, I have wanted to honour the country that I now call home on this here very podcast for a while now.
You say it with some sincerity.
I have done.
Oh, okay.
And I've also had, let's face it, 1 to 2 listener requests for a Welsh case. So you're welcome, croeso, everybody. We are in Beidder, South Wales, and it's the 24th of November 2015. Beidder is a typical Welsh village. It's quiet and it's off the map. It's also a close-knit community and everyone knows everyone. There's no secrets here, guys. A call comes through to Gareth Bishop. He's a police on duty that day. I've written here star recording. Now I know on the recording I did with Emily, I've done a terrible Welsh accent.
Yeah, there's nothing racist going on there.
But basically, the call handler phones up the only police on duty that day and says, "Well, hi Gareth. Just to say that someone thinks that they found a body down in the Treasure Flats." And he goes, "A body? You're kidding." And she goes, "Yeah, it's probably nothing. Carry on with your lunch," or something like that. It's proper, like, beautiful capture of Wales. So I did think maybe I would do the recording, and then I thought maybe actually my accent and impression would be quite good also. But that is what's happening here at the moment. So we're not concerned there's a body. It's all a bit of a mess. We don't think it's anything. And the police officer on duty can just carry on with his lunch in the next town.
I'd just like to add at this point that not every Welsh village is like Fireman's Ham and Tonapandi. You know,
Okay.
there are some competent people in Wales and some serious crimes. I know, but find out.
I think the point is that they don't often deal with dead bodies down in the flats of wherever it is. So they're like, well, it's bollocks, isn't it? So I wouldn't worry about it.
Well,
carry on eating your
but again, I mean,
Greg's steak bake.
as a police person, surely if someone says, "I think there might be a body next door," you don't carry on with your lunch, right?
So picture the scene. It's a typical council-style block of flats, and there's a small communal outside space that can only be accessed by the residents of the flat through a communal walkway. Our police, Gareth, describes it as someone leaving a roll of plastic there. Thank you, Gareth. He's underplaying it a bit because actually it's rather a large roll of plastic. Think large rug rolled up and ready for posting. So like human-sized. It's not a bit of plastic. It's a big old spring roll. Now, Stuart.
Yes.
What do you think that this roll of plastic contains?
Well, I think you've just given it away. So I'm guessing now that there's a body in it.
Oh, bless. Let's find out.
Let's find out.
So it's been discovered by 2 residents of the block of flats, Rhian and Michelle. A neighbour of theirs had recently died, and before her death, she had told Michelle about a medical skeleton. She needed moving up to the attic. Apparently, she'd been quite insistent, but Michelle and others had politely declined to help her. So once she had died, the neighbours and the people from the village had helped to clean the flat, and once the house clearance had come in, Michelle saw this roll of plastic in the garden and assumed it had been disposed of as part of the house clearance.
Fair assumption.
So believing it to be the skeleton, Michelle thought it'd be fun to grab it and use it to play a prank on one of her friends. That does sound like fun, doesn't it?
It does sound like fun.
So as Rhian and Michelle started to cut open the plastic, it dawned on them quite quickly that this, of course, wasn't a medical skeleton. And again, Stuart has guessed beautifully correctly. It was an actual, real human dead body.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Now, it was wrapped 41 times in ground sheets and other materials. The body was identified as a male, 5'6", bit of a shorty. middle-aged, and was in excellent condition, which I think I'd like to be described as when I'm wrapped up in plastic and dead. The initial cause of death was believed to be blunt force trauma to the head, and the
It's
time
something
of...
not quite right about that sentence. He was in excellent condition. The cause of death was that doesn't make sense, does it? Surely
No,
he was not in
he as a
condition.
corpse was in excellent
Well,
condition.
you know,
So he was like,
I don't think many of us are
he
too
wasn't
bothered about
decomposed or anything.
what
He was...
condition we're in when we're a corpse.
Yeah, but he was in excellent condition because he wasn't decomposed. He was like
I understand what you're saying.
almost like he was embalmed.
Oh,
Vac
well, he was.
packed.
He was
Vac packed.
in cling film.
Mm.
No, what was it? Pallet wrap. What did she wrap him with?
Well, a lot. We'll get onto that.
Okay.
Initially ground sheets, but they find a lot of evidence. It's like sort of a retro past the parcel type deal.
Yeah, it's like reverse past the parcel.
Anyway, the cause of death was believed to be blunt force trauma to the head, and the time of death was between a week to a month prior to the discovery. Okay, so remember that, guys, remember that. The garden was shared by 4 flats in the block, and it could only be accessed through that communal hallway or through a gate that is apparently padlocked, of which only one person has the key. And throughout the documentary, no one's actually mentioned who's got the key. So disregard that. That's not clear. The only other way for this roll of plastic to have been found is that being thrown out of one of the top floor flats' windows. So the police focus on the 4 residents of the flats that have the access to that space. There is a 93-year-old on the ground floor. What do you think about him? Do you reckon he's a suspect?
Hang on, sorry, I was a little bit distracted because I'm actually sneakily trying to Google something.
What are you Googling? Because that's not part of this podcast. You shouldn't be.
No, it was. Sadly, now I've forgotten what I'm Googling. So we'll get back to, what did you say?
Standard. Right, there's a 93-year-old on the ground. There's 4 people that live in... I've just held up 3 fingers. There's 4... There's 4 people that live in these flats.
Have 2 bananas.
They're the only people with, like, the access to this communal space. So surely there's only 4 suspects. The first one is a 93-year-old, and he lives
definitely him, surely.
He lives on the ground floor. So I was asking, do you think he's a suspect? Do you reckon? Like in a game of Cluedo?
No.
No? Okay. So on the top floor, there's a gentleman who has only just moved in and has been described as vulnerable, whatever that means. The other flat on the top floor is empty because the last tenant had died in October from cancer, and that's the one that Michelle had heard about this medical skeleton from. So actually, in the police's eyes, the only real suspect is our prankster Michelle. So she's in a bit of trouble here. Yeah. Poor old Mish, she's just trying to have fun. She informs the police immediately of what she's found and is then massively traumatised as a result. And then she gets brought in for a bit of questioning.
Right.
They ask her why she thought there was a skeleton in this roll of plastic and where or whom had she got the information from. She says, enter Leigh Sabine. This is the lady that had lived in the now empty flat above Michelle until she died in October 2015, and the police hadn't even considered this woman, a dead woman, right, as a suspect, especially because the murder victim had died within a matter of weeks, and Leigh had died over a month earlier, and she was so frail and ill that she would have been physically unable to carry out the violence that had caused the victim's death. So I think Michelle was pretty much still in the old spotlight there. What do you think?
Well, yeah, she's bound to be.
So she's blaming a poor cancer dead victim.
He who dealt it,
Yeah.
No, he who smelt it dealt it.
Regardless, police do set about learning all they can about Leigh.
And then, luckily, get a tip-off from the public.
There is a lot of... I'm going...
Yeah, well, see.
She was well known in the community and described as, quote marks, off her trolley and very eccentric. She moved to Bather when she was in her 60s, but that didn't stop her dressing in denim hot pants and fishnets. To quote Leigh, I like to be noticed, darling. Now, she was a famous cabaret singer in her youth and continued to convey that glamorous facade in her golden years with red nails, weekly visits to the hairdresser, and smoking her straights with a cigarette holder. Now, I've written, in her Emily era, some might say. Now, if you were Emily, you would laugh at that, but you haven't. But Emily, back in the day, I think when we were in sixth form college, decided to smoke all of her cigarettes through through a cigarette holder.
Yeah, no, actually, yeah. We've all had a friend that does that.
Have we?
No.
Who? Okay. Yeah, she's the only one of mine. So Leigh moved to the area 16 years ago, and she was quite a figure in the community. She had told people many different stories about what she'd done for a job and where she was born, and all of her life, basically, what happened. She had an, quote, odd accent, almost like a put-on posh English accent, but with a strange twang no one could put their finger on. But her main origin story, okay, was that she was from New Zealand, and she'd moved overseas to follow her passion as a singer and a performer, darling. The only consistency in Leigh's lengthy life story is, in fact, the medical skeleton that she regularly asked people in the village to help her move.
Well, I can imagine they're heavy.
Well, not a medical skeleton, they're quite light. I mean, you know,
Well,
they're made of plastic. They come apart. We've got one at work, which people hilariously make him do things that he should not be doing.
yeah, my
Yes.
my mum used to go on about like the skeleton.
And his jaws come completely apart, so make of that what you will. Back to Leigh.
What are you making of it, Hannah?
Nothing.
Yeah, okay.
Back to Leigh.
Yeah.
Somebody once said to her, I hope it's not a real skeleton. And she replied to them, you never know, darling. I think alarm bells are ringing somewhat here in this story. Are they not? No.
Well, no, I wouldn't say that because I think a lot of people would say that
Uh,
in a true banter sense.
hmm,
I think the fact
I
that
think
someone is able to say, because I'm going to go out on a limb here and say it was her, innit? Because
yeah.
like, what the hell, who the hell else was it?
The issue with this podcast is that there is no intrigue because I introduce the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. So back to our prank queen, Michelle. Remember now, she's quite the comedian. The police have spoken to one of her friends who has disclosed the fact that Michelle had told her that she'd killed her ex-partner and made him into stew. That doesn't help Michelle's plight, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, it doesn't. No,
no.
that's yeah, but this is what I'm saying before. It's like people can say like really innocuous things.
No, but when you get like
But then there's,
arrested
like-
for finding a body,
No, but she wasn't arrested for finding a body, was she?
she's about to be.
Well, yeah, I'm also getting those vibes, but you know, like people say silly things, don't they?
Yeah, of course they do. And
So-
you know, Michelle is a comedian. She's a prankster. She loves having fun and like fucking with her friends. And she's told this friend that she's made her ex into a stew. But police actually don't find this very funny. So after this, she's actually arrested on suspicion of murder. Oh, poor Mish. But after 48 hours in custody, Michelle
That's what they
is...
get, innit?
They do get...
We've
yeah.
all seen the documentaries.
It's called 24 hours in police
Oh yeah,
custody,
that's
actually.
24. Exactly. So they must have been really suspicious.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought they had 48. No, it is 24.
24
right,
hours in police custody.
God. See, I've watched 28 episodes.
But presumably
of those, and I
then,
still thought it was
actually,
48.
but
What?
she could have had 24 hours as a witness and then 24 hours as a suspect, couldn't she? So that could be 40 hours. Anyway, regardless of that, 48 hours in police custody or part of police or within the police realm being questioned, Michelle is actually released. Her ex-partner is found alive and well.
Can I
Way!
just, as the Sergeant Copper guy, has he finished his lunch yet?
Yes, I'm sure.
Okay.
Yeah, he might be on to his next one. Anyway, so Michelle's ex-partner is found alive and well, and actually her only crime was making friends with Leigh Sabine and having world-class bands. Yes?
Yeah, no. I just yeah.
Again, if Emily was here, she'd find that brilliant. So I write for my audience and not for Stuart. That's you guys.
You talk to me like that with your weird habit of abbreviating all words.
Let's not get into that. Right. So The spotlight once again falls on Leigh Sabine. Now, I'm saying Leigh Sabine. It's not Lisa Bean. It's Leigh space Sabine.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought it was, you see. It was Leigh Sabine.
Yeah, Leigh Sabine, but it's not. It's Leigh
Which is confusing, because
Sabine.
Leigh, to me, is more of a bloke's name. I mean, I'm
Not
fully
spelt
aware
like
that
her
it...
way.
No. But is that not Leia?
Jesus Christ.
No.
But also, if it helps, in in the
Just
documentary,
ignore me.
well, I have.
Yeah.
In the documentary, you need to watch it because I'm not going into half of the stuff because it's 3 episodes long and it's very sad. But her children pronounce the surname Sabine. So it's Leigh Sabine, which makes a lot
Yeah,
more
but
sense.
hang on, because, I mean, you didn't say anything about children.
No, I haven't yet.
Oh.
But I mean, it's coming, so it's not like a
But,
plot twist or anything.
like, surely they would be also, like, suspects or of intrigue, or police would want to speak to them. I mean, surely,
Yes,
where are they?
you wait. You'll have to wait for that. 'Cause it's, yeah.
Oh, sorry, guys. We're all in the same boat here.
So
Jeez.
anyway, but disregard what I've said about children. Right, so when Leigh died, she didn't have any family. Well, that's what the villagers thought anyway. So it was left to her friends and neighbours to fill out the funeral and the will. So a few of them kept a few of Leigh's items. Now, she lived in a council flat and she had quite, I think, like a kind of eccentric and gaudy taste to her flat. So there wasn't a huge amount of things that were valuable. So they took some items of jewellery. One of them took an ornament and one of them took a hoover. So you need to remember those things for later on.
A hoover, an ornament, and some jewellery.
Yeah.
Can do that.
These
Yeah.
are your clues that you should be writing down in our little Cluedo plate.
Oh, shit, Cluedo.
I've never played Cluedo.
Who's not played Cluedo?
Me. Well, a family of 3.
You look.
You can't play Cluedo with 3 of us.
You can't, can you?
No. There's many things that an only child has missed out on in their lives.
Here we go.
It's not ponies, though.
It's not fun,
it's not ponies and extreme love. Anyway, so when the police search Leigh's flat, there's very little evidence to collect or aid in their investigation because one of her friends is a professional cleaner and she's gone in, done them all a favour and cleaned it head to toe, top to bottom.
Oh, head to toe. Head to toe works.
But they did find, however, a torn up photo of a man written on the back of it in Leigh's handwriting, saying, "Derek, the only man I ever loved." So Leigh arrived in Baylor single, with no children, apparently, and with a glamorous and illustrious past. Apparently, she loved men and dropped her knickers at the mere whiff of a musky man's scent.
A musky man. How do you know that it was only musky men? I'm sorry. This is sensationalist.
Well, men tend to smell musky.
I beg
There's a
your
whole
pardon?
thing about musk. There's a whole line of perfumes.
Perfumes, even.
Sorry, she dropped her knickers at the mere whiff of a man.
Oh.
If that helps. Any man will do. Any scent of a man.
Give us a chance.
Doesn't matter about musk.
Yeah.
Apparently, even on her deathbed in the hospice, she'd attempted to seduce the oncologist. God does love a trier. So it's my case, so of course we're going to get our affair on. So Leigh had rather a lot of naughty encounters of the married kind, with men and men in general during her time in Baylor.
Yeah. I'm still convinced that that's not the right way to pronounce Baylor.
Again, Stuart is purporting to not be Welsh. He is Dutch, but apparently he knows how to pronounce the town in Wales called Baylor. And in the documentary, everyone was saying that it's pronounced Baylor, and everyone thinks it's Beddau. And again, they were like, no, it's pronounced Baylor. So if we're going to correct the Welsh people of this town,
yeah, well,
then I think we might need to be a bit careful.
That's the only thing, isn't it? Yeah. No, I appreciate that. It's an accent thing.
Yes. So how would you pronounce it?
Well, how is it spelled?
Beddau.
Beardai.
Yeah. But again, it's not pronounced that.
No, but I think it's, it's not it's not an uncommon thing in Wales that names have taken on a anglicised pronunciation. That's all I'm saying, and I think that's an example of it because there are others in South Wales.
Okay, well, I'm
So
saying
that's all I'm saying.
bather, and I've written it phonetically every time I've written the bloody word.
And you
Because
are absolutely right. That's, the people speak ultimately. If it's their town, the right to
absolutely,
say
and
it.
they said everyone pronounces it wrong. They all think it's Beidai or something. I can't remember what it was, but they said absolutely it's bather.
All
You
right, well,
need
I stand corrected. Be there.
bather.
Be there.
So he's ruined. So we're not going to focus on the pronunciation of Welsh bloody place names. I'm going to go back to my story. So again, if anyone does remember the photo I was talking about with the man, and Leigh had written "the only man I ever loved," and that Leigh had rather a lot of naughty encounters, and they tend to be married men during her time in Bather. So this is when she was 60 plus, but she was still banging anyone's husband around the town. So this photo, okay, is of a local man. His name is Derek Ellis, with whom Leigh had an ongoing and turbulent relationship with. Ellis hasn't actually been seen for a long time, and Leigh and him often had drunken arguments heard through the walls of the flat that's actually in question during this podcast. So police are concerned that Derek is the medical skeleton. But again, it's a false lead. As it turns out, he's died in 2010 from natural causes, and Leigh even wrote a tribute to him in the local paper saying, "Rest in peace, darling." So let's regroup, shall we? A body is found. It's so well preserved the police believe that it can't be more than a month post-mortem on the 24th of November. Leigh had died in October the same year in a hospice, incredibly frail and unwell. She died from brain cancer.
Who was this, sorry? Who died?
Leigh,
Leigh died of brain cancer.
yeah.
Okay. Sorry, yeah.
The body in the plastic wrap was male and killed with a blunt force trauma and then meticulously wrapped in plastic. So, spoiler alert, Leigh did have a husband. His name was John Sabine, or Sabine, however you want to pronounce it. And he had briefly moved into the flat in Bather in 1997, but after 2 to 3 months, he'd left. And Leigh says he'd left her for another woman. And a death certificate was issued for John, and it said that he had died in Essex in 2001. So it's not Derek and it's not John, but this medical skeleton definitely belongs to Leigh. Any thoughts, Stuart?
Well, hang on. No, yeah, only how do they know it definitely belongs to Leigh? Have I missed something?
Because she's the only suspect. She had the medical skeleton. She's telling everyone around
Okay,
town for
yeah,
years
she
and
did,
years and
she
years.
did, yeah.
It's definitely Leigh's.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But interesting point, because forensics are about to enter. So how
Are
can we...
any of them handsome then?
Oh, you can't tell because they're all in hazmat suits and masks. Yeah. It's not the most glamorous of jobs.
Until the paycheck comes in.
We don't know how much they get paid.
I bet it's more than I earn.
Yes.
Yeah, well, there we go. Safe bet. I'm not going to get great odds, but...
So the body is wrapped in 12-foot long plastic sheets. It's wrapped 41 times, as I mentioned before, and it's layered in all sorts of materials, including shopping bags, bin bags, and roofing felts.
I think it's just roofing felt.
Semantics aside, now, it's the worst kind of pass the parcel probably ever. Okay. So forensics have entered. Remember that. I don't know why I've rewritten that. They unwrap.
Entered the room, yeah.
They unwrap each layer, hanging each one on a washing line in a massive, garage, basically. And they methodically look for DNA evidence in each of these 41 layers. They look for hours, hairs, fingerprints, anything they can find. Eventually, they were able to match Leigh's DNA with the DNA found in the layers of the skeleton's packaging. So that's good. So we definitively know that this belongs to Leigh. And it's amongst these layers of history that they find a Tesco carrier bag dated 1992. And the body itself is wearing
Yeah.
M&S pyjamas that had been discontinued in the early 1990s. So while initially the police believed the person in these layers had been killed within a month of its discovery, actually, he had been killed decades before.
It was at this point that Sergeant so-and-so put his sandwich down.
Gareth's in the room.
Yeah.
Basically, by wrapping the body so many times and, as it turns out, using a Hoover. Do you remember my
Hoover, yeah.
Do you remember who might have that Hoover?
Yeah, the neighbour had it.
Yeah, neighbour has that. So, and it turns out using a Hoover to essentially vac, pack, and seal it over the years, Leigh had preserved the body so well that she'd slowed down its decomposition considerably. So,
You know, when they were showering in the hotel and there were bits coming through the shower. And
what?
transpired that there was a body in the water tank on the
Oh,
tip
right,
of the
yeah.
hotel.
Okay, no, I don't. That again. That's he's remembering it. That's very good. That's Leigh Salam, and but that's not correct. Like the she was in the water tank, but the taps were running brown.
Yeah.
They weren't showering with body
Well,
parts coming through the shower.
bathing. Oh, yeah.
Um,
Gold, all of it.
so remember John Sabine, her husband, and that his death certificate,
The only love of her life.
No, that's Derek.
Oh.
So she had a husband, John Sabine, moved into the flat briefly. 2 to 3 months later, apparently he'd left her for another woman, and that they'd confirmed his death via a death certificate online, saying that he'd died in 2001 or something. So, but the date of birth is wrong on the death certificate. So it's John Sabine. You know, it sort of sounds okay, but the date of birth is wrong. So actually, John Sabine's death has not been certified. Nobody knows where he's been, and he's moved into the flat in 1997 and not been seen since. And Leigh wasn't actually from New Zealand at all. She was born Anne Evans in the Rhondda Valley in South Wales. So she'd made up everything. She'd fabricated her whole entire life story. And wait, you know, I did allude to the fact before, but I was going to make this as like a plot twist in my podcast, but I failed. She did actually have a family. She did have children, 5 of them, in fact. And she had abandoned them one day in New Zealand along with her husband, John. So please, if you can, watch the documentary The Body Next Door on Now or Sky, because it really gives these children their voice and their pain. It's so raw, and it's quite rightly drives the story. But I've chosen not to talk about it because we're a funny podcast, and I don't really want to get into it because it's so sad. But the documentary does give them their voice. It's so important that their story is told, not just Leigh's, I think. So the police contact her children in New Zealand, and they take a swab of their DNA. It's tested against the body, and boom, it's their father. The story is reported on telly, and police ask for information from the public if they knew or had any contact with the couple over the years. A lady called Valerie Chalkley calls the hotline. She had known the couple in the 80s and had lost touch since. One day, Leigh had called her, and she had asked after John, and Leigh replied, "I killed him. I battered him with a stone frog."
A stone frog.
So I think Valerie thought, oh, she's just being her eccentric weirdo self, and I didn't think much of it. But then she's obviously seen this police telly thing and thought, fuck, actually. So remember Michelle, our prankster at the start of the story?
Yeah. Remember Michelle?
So, and do you remember the objects that people kept?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So she'd kept an ornamental stone frog that Leigh had kept as a doorstop for all these years. And actually the frog matches the indentation in the skull of John that killed him. So Michelle, poor Michelle, she's discovered the body. She's kept this stone ornament.
She's discovered the body, got accused of the murder.
Yeah. Then has
is
kept the murder weapon.
Cozy murder weapon on her mantelpiece. Yay!
Yeah. And like that's the only thing she's kept, because it's like she thought that would be sentimental because of her friend Leigh. She's kept that. And all of this has happened to Michelle. And with the Hoover, So you know when he said we vac packed it and that, the other neighbour has kept that Hoover and they DNA test the Hoover and there's like DNA and gross stuff from that, and they're all sickened by it.
Well, I mean, I think that's fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's bust a crime story of Leigh Sabine, but I really do recommend you go and watch those documentaries, and I'll put them in the show notes below so you can get a real understanding of like how awful this woman is.
Well, we finished.
Yes, we have.
Fuck, that was easy.
But I was just going to do my funny Welsh headline of the week.
Funny Welsh headline of the week.
Might not be that funny, but I thought it was funny at the time.
I know, it was a funny one I was watching on, where was it? Felinfoel, where the beer comes from.
Mm.
I was someone on the reels today, innit? Watching, I don't know, something kicking off with the police, and he was like narrating it as he was filming it from down the road. He's like, "Oh, it's all kicking off here," like, innit? And he's like, "Oh, there's one of them putting a gun." I'm going to imagine and guess it was probably a taser.
I hope so.
Yeah, they're not allowed to carry guns, are they?
No,
Regular
unless you're in the
police.
armed response unit.
Yeah, well, it'd be a shit armed response unit if you weren't allowed to have guns, were you?
So my one is, this happens in Kidwelly in Carmarthenshire. Drunk driving instructor crashes car on way to lesson.
Drunk? What was that?
Drunk driving instructor crashes car on way to lesson. So he was about to pick up a pupil for a driving lesson and he was massively drunk. And then crashed his car. So, you know, there's nothing about professionalism going on in Wales. Good for you.
Yeah, but this is my problem. It's like, you can't paint a picture of all Welsh people being like,
No, I'm not.
because they're really not like.
Again, if Stuart did take the time to listen to my podcast,
I
then he would know that I'm asking for Emily's local headline of the week.
hang on, but you only but you threw this at me 5 minutes ago.
Yes, but again, if
I'm
you
not no
listen to my
headline of the
podcast.
week. My headline of the week.
No, so I asked if you had a grumpy man of the week because you're grumpy all the bloody time
I'm
with
not
lots of things to
grumpy.
say about being grumpy.
No, I'm not grumpy. I'm a very amenable.
Endless rants I've just listened to.
No.
Okay. What was the one
I
that
barely said anything.
What was the one you did on the drive up?
The listeners have been cheated, Hannah. You went to all these
Oh,
things to get.
he was on about some pharmaceutical man in America earlier.
Yeah, no, I don't know, it was like a Spiteri guy, and he was like, he just hiked all the prices for his drugs that his dad's company that inherited, and he became like American public enemy number one.
Okay,
and
well,
he bought the Wu-Tang album.
I won't apologise to Stuart. I'll apologise to the listeners. Because, again, if Stuart had actually taken the time to listen to the podcast, then maybe he would know what I'm talking about at the end. We have like a nice, fun kind of decompression
We've
at the
had
end.
fun. Yeah, but we've had fun.
Have you had fun?
Yeah, totes. Totes blades right now.
Good. So do you remember what you meant to say at the end of this podcast?
Yeah, jewellery.
What?
Jewellery, a Hoover.
No, do you remember what you meant to say at the end of this podcast?
Oh, yeah, but you got to. The thing is like, that's a load of bollocks as well. Well, everyone, please join us again next week when we attempt to bust another crimes. I'm not going to be here next week.
Okay. But the intro remains.
Judging by the face that you.
The intro remains the same.
Yeah.
So the outro remains the same.
Okay.
I'm not going to change up my intro music and my outro music.
No, of course not.
Do you want me to do it?
No, I'll do it. What was it again?
This is like me and Emily every time.
Yeah, but this is.
I have to tell her every time. Join us next week when we bust another crime.
Oh, yeah. Join us next week when someone else busts another crime.
Great. Thank you very much.
That concludes the podcast, apparently. I think I did really well. What do you guys think? Let us know.
No. I don't know what this is.
No, this is me ending the programme. So now I have to say, and join us next week when we attempt to bust another crime. Was that okay?
Yes.
Okay.